Do you ever feel like you could be doing so much better, you could be doing so much more, going after goals and achieving things, but for some reason you find yourself not doing it? Or maybe there's a setback and you find it really hard and you give up. If you find yourself wondering how do you actually commit to the goals that you're setting, how to create change, and what the missing piece is, that's exactly what we're diving into today. I'm going to walk you through how to create systems that actually work for you, tailor it to your needs, and how you can create the discipline that you need to follow through even when things get tough. I'm going to break this down into 3 parts. The first part is going to be focusing on why systems are better than goals and how to set systems. Part 2 is going to go into shifting your identity, because how we see ourselves shapes so much of how we show up in the world and how we perceive things. We're going to dive deep into shifting that identity and becoming that version of you that goes after the things that you want. And part 3 is my favorite part. This is a 6-week deep dive into how to create systems that actually work for you and implement it. And I walk you through what to focus on each week. It gives you journaling prompts. It gives you things to check off. It helps you organize everything. My goal is by the end of this video, you are going to have everything you need to create systems and actually see huge changes in your life over the next 6 weeks. So I definitely recommend checking it out for yourself, but we'll walk through it together. I'll show you exactly what it looks like, how to use this, and I would love to hear how it goes. So come back and let me know. If you're new here, I'm Allie. I'm a self-development and relationship coach, and I focus on how to become your best self and build happy and healthy relationships. If that sounds like something you're interested in, make sure to hit subscribe. I'm putting out new videos each week. Let's go ahead and dive right in. The reason I say systems are better over goals is because goals are focused on the outcomes. Let's say weight loss, for example. If somebody wants to lose weight, they're going to say, I want to lose 10 pounds. That goal is based on the end goal. So that's going to help someone, I guess, give like a marker to where you want to be, but it's not going to put in the missing pieces of how to actually get there. And that can be self-defeating. It can feel really horrible when you don't see progress. It can end up stopping you because if after a week you don't see a change in the scale, or maybe you weigh yourself and you weigh a pound extra, like you're going to feel so bad about yourself. That's going to stop you from creating the changes that you want and creating the habits and the discipline that it takes to get to that goal. If we look at creating a system in comparison to that, a system would be something like, I want to work out 3 days a week. I want to go on walks more. I want to feel healthier. I want to be a healthy person. So if we put systems in place for that, that's so much more doable and achievable, because if you walk 3 times that week, you're going to be like, oh my God, I did it. This is great. I feel so good about myself. It's going to be so much more reinforcing, and it's going to make you so much more motivated to go after things. The problem with goals, and the problem that I see a lot of people do, even when they make, let's say, a vision board, like they'll put the end product on there, but it's missing the part that actually gets you to that level. It's missing the part that's going to help you become the version of you that's able to have that, that's able to get to that end point. So systems basically make you not feel so stressed out and not feel so overwhelmed about the things that you're going after. And the more that you do this, kind of ties into what I was talking about with discipline, because it creates those systems and the discipline in yourself that, like, okay, I can do that. I can walk 3 times this week. If you're going to walk Monday, Wednesday, Friday, something happens Wednesday, you can't do it. You can easily say, okay, I can walk Thursday instead. It takes the pressure off and it creates more habits. Looking at the things that you're working towards from a systems perspective changes how you approach things, because you're going to be less stressed the whole time. You're going to be less worried. And if something comes up and gets in the way of what you're working towards, you can easily shift that around and just be like, okay, this was a system I put in place. Something came up today. How can I shift this tomorrow? How can I get back on the system tomorrow? So it's not so much this huge pressure and needing to make progress immediately and see the end result. It's creating the habits and having the discipline in yourself to be able to sustain this over time, because ultimately that's the goal. Any of the things that we want to do or work on for ourselves, we can create that, but we have to have the systems in place. You can also create environmental things that's going to help this. You can create a section in your closet that's all of your workout clothes. You can feel excited to do this. You can feel really good about it, and think of fun meals to plan. Like there's ways that you can create more of like a lifestyle around your goals and more of a habit around it, compared to just having this like, I'm going to lose X amount of weight by X amount of time and calorie restrict and be like really crazy with it. Because the goal of any change that we do, whether it's for ourselves, our relationships, professionally, it's always going to be about creating things that are sustainable and that feel good. So if you think for yourself, what are the goals that you set? Are you setting the end goal? Or are you creating systems that are going to help you get there anyways? And that's going to feel good along the way. Something that you can do, and we'll get more to this in the 6-week guide, is you can start to write down like, well, what are all of the goals? And then challenge it and be like, okay, like, is this actually a system that gets me here, or is this the end goal? And how could I create a system or have more discipline that helps me get to that end goal? That's going to do it in a way that feels good, that you're going to be excited about. There are two really great quotes. I don't want to read this wrong, so I'm just going to read them off the paper. The first one is from a Greek poet, and it says, "We don't rise to the level of our expectations, we fall to the level of our training." And then the second one is from James Clear in Atomic Habits. If you haven't read Atomic Habits, I love this. This is such a great book, and it actually goes really well with the things that we're talking about. I would definitely recommend checking that out, and I could put a link for it in the description. James Clear says, "You don't rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your systems." So they also are talking about in this book why it's so important to have these systems, but there's a huge piece of this that's so important, that's how you see yourself. Part 2 is all about identity and how you see yourself. The way you see yourself shapes your entire world. If you see yourself as someone who's lazy, if you see yourself as someone who never follows through on the things that you do, you have so much evidence to support this idea that when you go and try to create change, the first time you fall off of it, you're going to say, oh, look, see, there's another piece of evidence to support this version of me. But the thing is, we can always shape how we see ourselves, and how we see ourselves shapes how we show up in the world. So think about, how do you want to show up? What does that ideal version of you look like? How do you respond to things? How do you act? How do you feel? How do you dress? How do you take care of yourself? The clearer that you can be on your ideal self and start to adopt some of those things, you're going to start to shift how you see yourself. I've seen this so much with my clients. I've seen this with myself. If I think back to myself, the different identities that I've had, when I was in high school, I was not a good student. I barely showed up to class. I was socializing. I was cutting class. How I viewed myself was not as someone who was studious. When I got to college, I wanted to shift this identity. I had years of probably 3-ish years of evidence to support that I didn't go to class, that I wasn't doing well, but I shifted that by creating systems. So I started going to the library, I started going to coffee shops, I started romanticizing this, where I would get my favorite drink and I would make this really great experience listening to nice music. And over time, I then viewed myself as a straight A student. I was on the dean's list. I got into Berkeley. I shifted my identity from someone who did not take school seriously to someone who really thrived and loved this environment, and I love the structure of it. The experiences that we have are very strong. So if you start to tell yourself, whatever the goal is, the outcome that you want to be, if it's you want to be an almond girly, which I am, and that also took time to get to, because I also at one point didn't eat very good, and now I'm all about the clean eating, the healthy lifestyle. I thrive on this and I absolutely love it. But if you think for yourself, do you want to be focusing on your exercise? Do you want to focus on career growth? Do you want to focus on whatever area it is? What identity would that version of you have, and how can you show up as that version of you? Our minds are very smart, and if we haven't done something before, we're going to challenge it. We're going to say, what evidence do you have to support this? So we have to create the evidence to support this new version of you, and the more that you do that, the easier it starts to become. Your identity matters so much, because this is one of the biggest things holding you back. If you tell yourself, I am not someone who changes, I'm not capable of this, I've never done it before, or I've tried and I've failed so many times, we need to shift that. We need to change the evidence around that and find small mini wins that you can build up over time to change who you are and how you see yourself, and then start to embody that. We can do our environment, definitely our mindset, and how we talk to ourselves, the systems that we set up, how we plan our day and plan ahead. So if you want to exercise more and take care of your body and your health, you can organize your closet, and you can have, let's say, a whole section for all of your workout clothes that feels really good, that you're excited to put on, that's really cute and you feel good in. You can put your yoga mat by the front door, sign up for classes ahead of time, or plan ahead to go on a really nice walk or a hike twice a week in a place that you're really excited to go, or ask friends to go with you. There's ways that you can set it up that you start to look forward to. And then the more you do this, it starts to become how you see yourself. Oh, I'm someone who always follows through when I say I'm going to do something, when I say I'm going to go to yoga, or when I say I'm going to go for a walk in the morning. The more times you do that over time, it becomes a habit, and then it just becomes a part of your lifestyle. Each and every time you set a goal and you follow through on it, you build confidence, you feel so much better about yourself, and you believe in yourself and your abilities. It's literally one of the best things that you can do for yourself. And if you find yourself getting stuck or in a moment where you don't know how to respond to something, ask yourself, what would my ideal self do? What is my future self doing? And how would my future self respond to this? So that way you can start to shift that internal dialogue and create those systems show up differently. It really is about creating discipline and not waiting until motivation strikes, because so many times people are like, well, I wasn't motivated, so I didn't do it. But creating systems and habits is going to be pushing you out of your comfort zone. So there's going to be times that you're not motivated, but knowing that you followed through on something, it builds that confidence. It reassures you in what you're capable of, and it shows you that you're capable of change. Now we're going to dive into the 6-week guide that is going to walk you through step by step how to go over what we've talked about so far, but it also takes everything even deeper, and it's super organized. Anyone that's worked with me knows that I love organization. I made this one a really thorough deep dive for anybody who's ready to create change and can commit to 6 weeks. The reason I like to do time periods, like with coaching, my minimum is 3 months. It's what I usually suggest most people do. We can commit to anything for a short period of time. It doesn't have to be a commitment like for a year. I think the longer of a time that you tell yourself you're going to commit to, the harder it is to actually follow through on it, because it feels like this huge daunting task. But anyone can commit to 6 weeks of doing something better for themselves. With that said, let's check it out. This is the first video I've done where I'm screen sharing and I'm putting together more of a detailed plan. So if you like this, definitely let me know and I'll do more of them. But let's take a look at this. So this is the 6-week plan where you can create systems over goals, because that's definitely much more effective in reaching your goals. So if we scroll through the first page, I go over a lot of what we've already talked about, like why goals don't work, how to create systems. I also like to put examples in here in case this is something that you find helpful. I know for me, I always like to hear from other people's experiences or examples, and sometimes that gives me inspiration or motivation of things that I want to do for myself. I go into how systems help you and how to use this template. And then if you're interested in learning more about what I do, or if you want to work one-on-one with me, you can definitely check out these links, because that's the best way to reach me and schedule a discovery call with me to see if it would be a good fit. But let's go into creating your systems. So we start off with what your end goals are. And basically this whole page is just outlining the systems that you need to create and getting clear on what's going on internally so that you can know what you need to do for yourself going forward and parts you want to work on and shift, and the systems that you want to put in place to be able to help you reach your goals. And like we said, goals are the end point, and we need the systems in place to help you create the changes that you want to see over the next few weeks in order to get there. So you can think about these goals in terms of the next 6 weeks or maybe the next few months. I wouldn't think too far out, because that can create too much stress and pressure and lead people to feel overwhelmed and not end up taking any steps forward. And we want to avoid that, because these are the systems that are actually going to work. So all the times that you've tried to make goals and you haven't made progress, we are done with that and we're doing it a new way. And then we go into self-identity and core beliefs. With the self-identity and core beliefs, there are 4 different steps in this section that help you really identify what your current identity and core beliefs are. And what we talked about before, acting as if you're already that future version of yourself. We want to get rid of any blocks or things that are hindering you from reaching your goals and taking steps forward, and start to embody and identify that future version of you so you can think like that version, act like that version, show up as the version of you that does follow through on things, and that creates really productive and healthy and successful systems. We definitely want to touch on blocks. So anything that's gotten in your way in the past, we want to identify that and not let that get in the way going forward. Then we identify your top priorities. What I really like about this one too is you can categorize it in different sections. And then if you wanted to edit it, you can always edit it and put, categories that fit whatever it is that you're working towards. But I feel like these are general ones that could be nice to have. And you can identify what the system is. So let's say a top priority is exercise. So you can type in exercise. We can put that in health and wellness. And then the system is going to be walking 3 times a week. And then how often and when, or like any extra things, you can say walking in the morning because it helps me start my day. You know what, maybe we'll do when, how often, and why, because we want the why in there. That's what motivates us. This helps me feel like my best self. And then you can go through that for the rest of these categories if there's anything in relationships or anything in your mindset or how you see yourself that you want to shift, and you can type all of these in here, and that sets the foundation. So once we have this page done, you can start to set goals for each specific week based on the category that you want. So we have weeks 1 through 6 here. If we go into week 1, each week is going to be focused on what it is that you're working towards, and we have a daily habit tracker. This is for each system in each area, and then you can start to say if it's it's in progress, completed, and this will just help you see overall what are you making steps towards. And if you have any days that aren't working out, then we can start to reflect on like, well, what was it about that day where you maybe made some progress? The idea behind this is that you're making strides forward, but you're not going to be hard or criticizing yourself if it doesn't go perfectly. We want progress over perfection. I really like this part just to keep it organized and know exactly what to focus on each day. You don't have to focus on each system each day. Let's say if you have a really busy workday Monday, maybe you just work on one of the 3 systems. Let's change that to 2. So maybe you just work on one of the systems or 2 of the systems. So it doesn't have to be all 3 each day. Do what is sustainable and do what works for you. That's where I like to talk about creating systems that are individualized and not the one size fits all. Make the best decision based on the time you have available and what your goals are. And then I always suggest an end of the week reflection so that you can take the time that you need to be able to see like what worked, what didn't, and what you would want to do differently next week. So this is the guide and it breaks it down each of the weeks, and I have a little motivational image here. Like I said, I have this down in the description, so if you want to check it out, I definitely recommend it. It'll just help give you that structure that you need going forward, and it walks you through even more in depth what we've talked about, and it gives you the journaling prompts and things that you need to help guide you. I hope that you found this helpful, and let me know if you have any questions about it. If you've made it this far, I want to congratulate you because I know that you're so serious about creating change, and I think that's so amazing. I'm putting out videos each week that does a deep dive into self-growth, self-development, relationships, how you can become your best self. If there's any topic you want me to cover, please let me know. I love talking it out with you guys in the comments of like anything that comes up. If there's any takeaway from this video, I would love to hear it. Make sure to hit subscribe, and I hope to see you in my next video.